this thing about John Cena, this is what gets me. Because Jeremy, the God King on Backstage, was giving me stick about it, that I was letting him off the hook. But it's not. It's because I'm not letting him off the hook. I'm just pointing out that he's the famous face, but he represents something else. What happened, obviously, for those who don't know or haven't been paying attention, he was promoting Fast and Furious in China, and apparently he speaks Chinese. And he, in one of these interviews, he called Taiwan a country. Now, Taiwan is a country. It is a better country than China, than mainland China. It's called the Republic of China. This is where Chiang Kai-shek escaped with his nationalists after Mao Zedong took over China. And the Chinese don't want it to be recognized, and America has always kind of played it both ways. We've kind of said we recognize it, but we don't really recognize it. And he said it was a country in an interview, and then he came out and apologized in Chinese. This is what he said.
你好，中国，这是叫西娜。我必须说，现在，在速度与激情中，我做很多采访，很多，所以在一个采访，我有一个错误，我必须说，现在就是很重要。我爱更尊重中国，更中国人。我很抱歉对我的错误。
And you probably understand most of that. That han means in Chinese means cuck. So I am such a cuck. You know, I have to say, just to take a moment to say that I always enjoyed the Fast and Furious franchise because all the cool, tough guys in it have shaved heads. You know, there's The Rock and Jason Statham and Vin Diesel, and I actually believe that it is a secret Klavan franchise, that they're sending a message to people. You know how some people hold up Q for QAnon. I think this is the shaved head sending a kind of secret message of Klavan. In fact, what I think we should do is go on the other guys' shows on their, you don't have to listen to them because that's a waste of time, but like go on the other guys' shows on the Daily Wire and on YouTube and just leave a shaved head with a K on it, and see if we can recruit some people into this. Here's my point about this, though. My point is, it's fun to pick on John Cena, and it's fun that this tough guy with the big muscles and all this is actually a spineless cuck. But it's not him. It's Universal, and it's Comcast, right? Universal's putting out the picture. Comcast owns Universal, which also owns NBC and parts of AT&T. These are the people who killed the Harvey Weinstein story, right, at NBC. This is where NBC were the people who threw out Ronan Farrow. So Harvey Weinstein was raping people and going around chasing women around and doing horrible, really disgusting things. I mean, and everybody knew. Not everybody knew about the girls, but everybody knew about the bullying and the meanness and all this stuff. And they were constantly thanking him. Everybody knew, and most people knew about the women. But Universal shut it down, right? John Cena is not going to go again. You know, they sign contracts. I know we think, oh, these guys are stars, they can do anything. But no, they sign contracts saying they can't say anything to hurt the franchise. He wants this job. He doesn't want to be thrown out of the job. We should be blaming the people who are to blame, which is the people in power. And that's not letting him off the hook. I mean, he did a shameful thing, but he's doing it at the behest of these powerful companies. You know, this film, this F9, they're calling it, Fast and Furious 9, it's amazing that the franchise has gone on that long. It took in $163 million, reading from the Daily Wire, from just 8 foreign markets, a weekend haul that was as strong as major international debuts in the pre-pandemic era and marked the biggest movie opening since the COVID-19 outbreak began. The figure had the entertainment media humming. There was just one problem. More than 80% of those earnings, $136 million, came from China, right? According to a report from the human rights organization PEN, in 2019 alone, 3 blockbusters, Avengers, Endgame from Disney, Spider-Man, Far From Home, Columbia Pictures, and Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw from Universal earned more in China than in the United States. These guys are making movies for China. And, you know, this means all these people, like China, you know, and obviously I'm not talking about the Chinese people, I'm talking about the government. China is a dictatorship. It is a crushing dictatorship. It is a place where if you complain, you disappear. It is a place where people are controlled by social rankings. It's a place where Uyghur Muslims are put in concentration camps. It is brutal. I mean, they have forced tied down women and forced them to have abortions to keep their populations low. It is a brutal authoritarian country that cheats economically on people. So all I'm saying about this is when actors and actresses get up at the Oscars and they tell us about what fools we were to elect Donald Trump, and when they tear up and they cry, all their tears are lies. All their moral preening is baloney. All of it. And I love the movies. I love these movies. I was watching, what was I watching? The Woman in the Window, which is a kind of a B movie, but it had all this amazing talent in it. It had every single person was played by a big actor. Amy Adams and Julianne Moore are in it. It's like watching these two actresses, and they were one scene together. It's like watching two heavyweights. They're terrific. It's watching two heavyweights slug each other in the ring. It's brilliant. I love it. It's just when they get up and start telling me about their politics and telling me how to understand race and telling me all the things that America has done wrong, it's all garbage. And I think, and it's true of all of these guys, all these businesses. I was in Washington, D.C., and I was near Chinatown, and there's all these big signs on this bank saying, don't be racist to Asian people. And I thought, if you can afford that sign, you're doing business with China. Shut up, This is one of the most tolerant countries on earth. If you're a Chinese American, you're an American. There's nowhere else that's true. There's nowhere else you become an American. It's like, yeah, whatever, you're an American. Can you talk English? Can you be an American? Can you run a business? You're in. We really don't care. And the incidences of Asian violence that have sparked up are not about any kind of particular deep racism. They're about social relations, basically between Asians and blacks. It's the Jews is a problem. Jew hatred is a problem. This is not a problem. And if it's a problem, you're not the ones who should be lecturing me. This is what drives me crazy about it. It's like every time, everything they cry about. It's the exact same thing with the story about the Chinese virus, right? A year ago, we started to suspect, we had good reason to suspect that the Chinese virus or the Kung flu or the flu Manchu or, Mu flu pork, whatever you want to call it, was created in a Wuhan lab where they're strengthening these viruses, probably so they can kill us all. That's probably why they say as well. It makes it easier to explore the virus, especially when it's killing Americans. But we pretty well suspected this, and yet not only was here's Dr. Fauci lying about it. This is cut 10.
If you look at the evolution of the virus in bats and what's out there now, it's very, very strongly leaning towards this could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated, the way the mutations had naturally evolved. Someone will say, well, maybe somebody took it from the wild, put it in the lab, and then it escaped from the lab. But that means it was in the wild to begin with.
So, utterly absurd, but of course the press just jumped on board, right? Not just the press, not just the media calling it hoax, Vox calling it a hoax, all this people calling it a hoax, all the fact checkers calling it a hoax, but you were banned on Facebook. You were labeled on Facebook as putting out false information. If you said, I think this was made in a lab. Oh no, it was wrong. It's bigoted to say it's anti-Asian. They just will say anything to stop the truth from coming out. So why is Facebook has now announced that it will no longer do that? Because the Democrats say it's okay. The Democrats say, Facebook and all the other big tech guys are suing Ron DeSantis in Florida because Ron DeSantis is pushing a law where they're not allowed to cancel candidates in an election race. They're not allowed to censor speech during an election in Florida. And they're saying, well, what do you want, a state-run internet? It's already a state-run internet. What they don't want is a red state-run internet, right? So why is the media doing this? Why is the media doing this? Here's a guy named Willis Krumholz, a writer at The Federalist. He just makes this point. He says, Vox is owned by NBC, which owns MSNBC, which is owned by Comcast. Comcast and NBC have extensive business ties to China. Thomson Reuters has sales and offices in China. ABC is owned by Walt Disney, which has extensive ties to China. Now this is owned by Discovery, which has business in China. The Washington Post is owned by Amazon, which via Amazon Web Services has ties to China. CNN is owned by AT&T. Guess what? Has business ties to China. The analysis isn't as simple as examining a simple percent of company revenues because China sales are often growing faster or are projected to grow faster. These parts of the business carry disproportionately more weight. All I'm saying about these guys is when they lecture us about our terrible racism in this country, where we're putting Uyghurs in concentration camps. Oh no, that's not us. When they lecture us about the way we treat black people by, doing terrible things to them, like electing them president, how on earth, what kind of cruelty is that? Who could do that to a black man? This is a place where I think that black America is one of the richest countries, it may be, I think, the 15th richest country on earth. Black America may be the 15th richest country on earth. It's somewhere around there. I'm speaking from memory, but it's somewhere around there. This is a good country for people. And why are these people lecturing us? Why are these people who are turning a blind eye to what is being done to people in China? Why are these people who will kowtow to them, apologize to them, send out these poor actors to get laughed at while they sit back there? They're laughing at John Cena, but I'm counting my money here. I'm in great shape. I watched this great documentary the other day called Uncle Tom. And I highly recommend this. And I kind of was reluctant to watch it. It's made in part by Larry Elder. And I was a little bit reluctant to watch it because it's got Larry Elder and Candace Owens and Jesse Lee Peterson and Herman Cain, all these people that I love, but I know what they have to say. So I thought, well, I don't really need to watch this guy. I know what I have to say. It's a terrific movie. It is riveting. It's touching. It's funny. I highly recommend it. My favorite scene in it, now I always love Jesse Lee Peterson, but my favorite scene in it is Herman Cain, because he just is overflowing with this kind of Christian hilarity. He's just, everything makes him laugh, and he's just got ebullient, and he's just as great. And black conservatives get called things by leftists, especially white leftists, that are utterly repellent, just nauseating, racist slurs that they feel free to hurl at black people if they're conservatives. Like, how dare you think for yourself? How dare you not think like, white people are telling you to think? It is genuinely disgusting. And I've heard it myself, by the way. In conversations with leftists, I've heard them say things that my jaw dropped. And if I said them, Jeremy would come in here and take me off the air because they're disgusting. Who would say them? Except that leftists, white as snow, leftists feel absolutely justified in calling these guys, these men, most of them terrific guys. These are all guys I really like a lot and very much admire and respect. They feel free to call them names. So they ask Herman Cain, how do you feel when people call you these horrible, horrible names? And Cain just bursts into laughing, and he says, I'm going to quote my father. And his father was obviously a very wise man, but he was an unlearned man, right? He was an unlearned man. And he said, my father used to say, I doesn't care. That's what Herman Cain said. I doesn't care. And that has immediately become my instantaneous reaction to all leftist hysterics, weeping about race, weeping about children in cages, weeping about feminism. Oh, the Me Too movement is so important until Joe Biden is plausibly accused of throwing a woman against a wall and jamming his hand up her. Then suddenly it doesn't matter anymore. I doesn't care. I doesn't care, because all their tears are lies. They do taste so very, very good.